Monday night, A2D on remote location. I'm Rob. He's Brad. Frank's producing. We are the Sports Hounds. And Brad, I always say that controversy makes for good sports talk radio. And boy, did I get my wish after the Philadelphia Eagles day 2 selections in this weekend NFL draft. As always, the Sports Hounds are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Dr. Paul Vidal. He's our doc. Make him yours too. Visit specializedphysicaltherapy.com. For more information on his services, remember he has 3 convenient locations. We're also brought to you by Ambuck Services. Visit ambuckservices.net for more information on their services as we get out of these corona times into springtime.
We're getting there.
We're getting there, hopefully. We have some promising news on the sports front. Before we get to that, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Instagram. We're live on Periscope. We're live on Facebook. We can be streamed at any time, any of the content. You miss any of the shows, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify. I believe there's 11 different forums you can now listen to A2D Radio on. The takeover is real. Join the debate. I'm getting right into the poll question tonight because I want to take this show, and we're going to have an Eagles show. We're going to get to your Giants and the rest of the NFC East and the rest of the league a little bit later on in the show, but this is going to be an Eagles recap show. By far the most polarizing draft in the NFL, Brad. Poll question of the night. I'm going to be interested to see what the comments are. I want to get your perspective first, though. Because you're a Giants fan, you look for every excuse you can to bury the Philadelphia Eagles and Philadelphia sports in general.
This is true.
Do you think Carson Wentz is a franchise quarterback?
Yes.
Hashtag agree. Hashtag disagree.
Hashtag agree.
Okay. Would you care to expand on that? Why do you think he's a franchise quarterback? Because a lot of this fan base likes this Jalen Hurts pick in my experience, in my, social media.
I think you guys.
They think it's a smart pick because Carson Wentz always gets hurt. I couldn't. Okay. I hate this pick. You have a 27-year-old franchise quarterback. You paid him $127 million.
Let me ask you a question, okay?
Yes.
Why do you think the Eagles made the playoffs last year?
Because of Carson Wentz.
Thank you. Okay. So basically, they had no offensive weapons for him to
None.
throw other than Zach Ertz. Okay. They were able to run the ball fairly well, but really offensively, his offense was throwing the ball to Zach Ertz. Nobody else was really stood out. Okay, and he still willed them into a division championship and got them into the playoffs. Okay, when he got hurt and you put a different quarterback in the game, they went nowhere. They couldn't move the football at all because they couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't run the ball. Carson Wentz, first of all, has a rifle arm. He's extremely accurate. You give him some guys who won't drop the ball all the time, and he'd be very effective. Okay, I mean, bottom line is, and I'm going to tell you right now, for those who are thinking about Mr. Hurts, okay, and I kind of gave you guys my opinion on how stupid that was.
It lacks logic.
To pick a guy like that in the second round. First of all, you could have got him with one of your supplementary picks in the third round. Or maybe
I don't know about that. I am going to disagree and push back on that. I don't think he would have been there for the Eagles to take it 103.
Who's going to pick him?
I think the Patriots wanted him. I think that's one of the main reasons they didn't take a quarterback in the draft. I mean, I thought
if they wanted Hurts so bad, they would have picked him in the first round.
He's just not
listen,
first round prospect.
He's Tim Tebow 2.0.
He's not exactly. He's not a thrower of the football.
No, he's a runner. Okay, if you're going to convert him to a receiver,
he's a one-read guy,
or a running back, or a third down. You're going to give him the Sproles role. Okay, I could see that. I mean, he's not a receiver. as a 2, I just don't see it. If you think as a quarterback that you can run like a wishbone kind of offense in the NFL and put him out there, yeah, maybe it'll work. I don't know. I don't think it will, but I suppose I just don't. For a second round pick, you want your second round pick as an every down player. He's gonna if Wentz is the quarterback, he's gonna be out there maybe 10 drives a game, 10 snaps a game
at most,
and he'll get the ball maybe 2-3 times running the ball. I mean, how many times do you really think he's going to run the ball? And I'll tell you another thing, Rob. When if they take Wentz out, okay, and they put him in, I'm pretty confident that they're either going to throw a short pass or he's going to run the ball. I don't really have to worry about him throwing a deep ball because I don't think the guy has the arm strength to get the ball down the field accurately.
No, it's one thing to be a 70% passer in college.
Yeah, but you got guys that are wide open.
A thrower of the football in the NFL. Great place all the way around by you, Brad.
Sure. And I'm going to give you an example. When you saw Joe Burrow, okay, yes. I don't know if you recall the Oklahoma game, the first game.
In the playoff.
Right, in the playoff. Do you recall the play where he ran to the sideline and it looked like he was just flinging the ball, throwing the ball away down the field? And the guy caught it it was like a Manningham catch in the Super Bowl right on the sideline?
I don't recall specifically, okay. I know, but I'll believe you that it happened.
Okay. He made a pass like that. I think it was in the second quarter when it was 21-7, and I think the Sooners actually had them stopped. It was 3rd down and 10, and he was running for his life, and he was running toward the sideline, and he just kind of flung it down the field, and it was caught. And you sit there and you say to yourself, this guy, that's an NFL quarterback. That's a great throw. Jalen Hurts is not making a pass like that. Not in your wildest dream. He will never be able to make a pass like that. I don't
know, but I don't want to say never. See, it's tough because I don't like hating this pick because I love the kid. Everybody loves the kid.
Yeah, but you know what? I see him as the same kind of quarterback J.T. Barrett was. And J.T. Barrett was a better passer. So I don't know how. And J.T. Barrett hasn't seen a lick of work in the NFL. I know that he's on New Orleans, and I get all that. But you know what? New Orleans has kept him around. They never cut him, and I don't think they'll cut him this year either. But still, if you would think he might get a series of downs there, he didn't. This is the kind of guy I think he is, and I think J.T. Barrett was a better passer.
I mean, I agree that they're similar players. I don't know. I mean,
I think they're very similar.
J.T. Barrett. I don't recall enough of J.T. Barrett's highlight reels to say that he's a better passer or a worse passer.
Well, I mean, we saw a lot of him because he played for Ohio State. In Ohio State.
Yeah, they're on the TV all the time.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you missed many of his games. J.T. Barrett, you probably saw most of his games. Jalen Hurts, saw some of them. Oklahoma wasn't always on. To be honest with you, I didn't watch Oklahoma all that much. I was watching most of the SEC games because that's where the real teams are.
It's better, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like watching them is like watching NFL games because that's how top tier the talent is in that league.
Now, my mission tonight is we're going to be big in the comments tonight. So we really need you tonight, guys, for the comments because I want to peel back the onion on this Carson Wentz saga here in Philadelphia, and I want to get to the bottom of why this fan base can't seem to get behind this guy, seeing how talented he is.
Because they're annoyed because he hasn't excelled in the playoffs. That's why.
I guess that's fair, but
yeah, that's that. No, I mean, look, his 3 years in the league, he hasn't won a playoff game yet.
But don't you? My point being,
I guess that's got a lot to do with it. I mean,
but my point being is, I think it goes deeper than he's had some injury problems because Lindros was injured all the time. But people love Lindros. That's just the example that came to my head.
Like, Lindros,
but Lindros is beloved in this city. He never won a
championship. He had a lot of concussions. That was the problem. I mean,
an injury is an injury to me.
Yeah.
Eric, he collapsed his lung. He got hit by the Maple Leafs. I think it was 01.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Lindros had a lot of problems. He wasn't on the ice a lot when it mattered most in the playoffs. He was injured. But Eric Lindros is beloved in this city. Is it because he got to the Stanley Cup in 1997? Is that why? Is it because he was a big physical player?
You get to the finals. They beat the Rangers the year the Rangers had Messier and Gretzky. And honestly, I think 3/4 of the hockey fandom thought the Rangers were going to win the cup that year, and they found a way to beat the Rangers that year. He did get to the Stanley Cup Finals. Unfortunately, the team that was built around him had a goaltender who was very, very up and down. He was inconsistent. That was Ron Hextall. Ron Hextall had a great beginning of his career, but he had a very when he got dealt to the Islanders.
I don't want to get down to Ron Hextall. I don't want to get down to Ron Hextall, mid-90s NHL role. With all due respect to your hockey fandom, and I know you're stuck.
I'm just making a point. I'm just making a point. But Eric Lindros, the reason Eric Lindros is popular is because he brought his team to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay, and that's totally fair point. But
does not want to play tonight.
I'm astonished that there's not more venom and outrage over this Jalen Hurts selection, that they kind of see it as a smart pick because Carson gets hurt. And I couldn't disagree more.
Well, let me ask you a question. You think Jalen Hurts is going to win a playoff game?
I think Howie thinks he's going to throw him in this Fugazi QB factory they got going on now. I don't know if you caught that quote being a New York fan, but Howie claimed that the Eagles are a QB factory and they're just developing quarterbacks left and right, which makes no sense. There's no argument.
There's only room on the field for one quarterback.
Correct, Brad. Correct.
So
you have won the Showcase Showdown. You get to spin the big wheel at the bottom of the hour. You only play one quarterback.
Yeah, there's only one quarterback.
$127 million invested in Carson Wentz to be that one quarterback, and you want to go play QB factory at pick 53 and get some Mickey Mouse gadget quarterback. I think Howie Roseman has fallen in love with this character guy in Jalen Hurts, which he's done before here and made mistakes in the draft, emphasizing character too much.
He
thinks he's going to work with Doug for
if you want to have a guy like that,
years, and then take the reins from Carson so Howie can get out of the $100 million contract that Carson Wentz signed. I think if Howie Roseman could have a mulligan on that $127 million contract he gave Carson Wentz, I think he'd take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and you know what he would be with, and you know what the GMs around the league would be lining up to grab him.
I think that's what Howie's hoping for.
What?
I have no idea what the future. I have no idea what the future holds here in Philadelphia at the quarterback position.
No, I think Carson Wentz is your quarterback.
I think the Eagles, but I think that a lot of the family here thinks that. Certainly I think it's pretty unanimous between the A2D talent and producers that this was a bad pick and Carson should be the guy, and you don't pick again.
I thought it was a ridiculously dumb selection. I mean, if I'm the GM of the Eagles,
but how can you justify?
I'm doubling down on a receiver. That's what I'm doing. I would have doubled down and gotten another one. I would have gotten that guy Mims that the Jets got.
Wouldn't have been. If they could. Looking back, I'll take anybody besides Hurts. And it's not because I hate Hurts. I hate that I have to hate this pick because I like Jalen Hurts. He almost won 2 national championships and 2 Heisman trophies with separate college programs. An unprecedented feat. One of the greatest college careers in recent memory. Obviously, he didn't win a championship, so you can't say ever, but pretty strong college resume. A great athlete, a great leader.
Yeah, but when is he going to play?
Pick.
But when's he going? You got to pick a guy who's going to be on the field all the time.
But Brad, what am I supposed to say to Eagles fans that when I go on my Facebook account and say I hate this pick, that say that how am I supposed to argue with people that think that this was a smart pick?
Because they're in denial.
Pick, Brad. I'm astonished.
Rob, they're in denial. That's the bottom line.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, for whatever reason, when the Eagles do something, whether it's smart or stupid, for some reason this fan base, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are like sheep and just follow the herd and say, "Oh, great pick." No, that's not a great pick. How many plays do you expect him to play a game?
So now I always think,
but why didn't you just keep the pick, get a receiver, and during free agency or now you could have gone out and you could have just gotten a quarterback who can run.
They just went out of their way to keep Nate Sudfeld in their building. Now, say what you want about Nate Sudfeld. He's never really gotten a chance to play. He's kind of like a hot practice
run.
But no, he's a more traditional pocket guy.
Well, what do they want?
But Brad, they put a second-year tender on him. He was a restricted free agent. They put a second-year tender on him. Obviously, that ensures that he's going to be in your building next year because no one in their right mind is going to give a second-round pick for Nate Sudfeld when he's never really played any significant time in the NFL.
What are you're going to have? You're going to have 3 quarterbacks activated every week.
A great question, Brad.
You're going to activate 3 quarterbacks every week?
Well, I think Hurts is going to be activated because of it for gadget stuff.
Okay, and Sudfeld too. Listen. If Hurts return punts, okay, and plays in special teams, okay, maybe, But I mean, you could have gotten Michael Vick out of retirement to do the same thing Hurts is doing. I mean, am I wrong?
And the last thing I'm going to say, we're going to dive into some comments right now, is I'm sick of hearing the Taysom Hill comparisons. It doesn't hold water, folks. It's an asinine comparison. The Saints did not use a premium second-round pick on Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was an undrafted free agent. The Saints found Taysom Hill by accident. They took a flyer on him as an undrafted free agent guy, and he turned into this moose hybrid guy that just eats people up and is a power runner that can throw the ball as well. An ultimate hybrid. Taysom Hill is he's 250 pounds. Jalen Mills is undersized. I've seen Taysom Hill throw the ball down the field. I don't know if Jalen Hurts can spin it a lick in this league. I don't know if he has the goods to be an elite passer in this league. I think Howie fell in love with this character and reached, and he thinks that this is his way out of Carson Wentz's $100 million contract if Wentz were to get hurt again, or if Hurts develops the way he thinks he can.
Rob, if Wentz
QB factory, it's not a QB factory. How can you call this a QB factory?
If Wentz gets hurt, the season is over.
Agreed.
Any team, let's be honest, okay? 95% of the time, not all the time, but 95% of the time, if you lose your starting quarterback, you're done. That's just how the NFL is. You don't get, the Nick Foleses of the world and the Jeff Hostetlers of the world, we've had 50 Super Bowls, okay? 2 backup quarterbacks have ever won the Super Bowl, okay? When the Dolphins went undefeated, okay?
Yeah.
Earl Morrall made him undefeated. He was 14-0. Guess what happened as soon as the playoffs started and Bob Greasy was healthy? Bob Greasy was the quarterback.
Greasy went back in. Yeah, he was the starting quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. But how often does that happen? And the reason the Dolphins that year were 14-0 is because they had Jim Kick and Larry Zonka, who both ran for 1,000 yards. Now, how often does that happen?
I mean, different era, different. I mean,
but I'm just
I get you.
Still,
Yeah, you lose your starting quarterback, especially when it's a franchise quarterback. You're screwed. All right, let's get some comments here.
back in the day, you could have two great running backs and a great receiver like Paul Warfield on the team. Okay, you could get it. You can get away with that in this day and age of salary cap football. You can't pay to have that many superstars on your offense. Then you'll have no money left for your defense. So it's not going to work like that. Carson Wentz is a outstanding quarterback.
All right, so we got a lot. We got a lot cooking. We got a lot cooking tonight.
He's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay, as a Giant,
I agree with you.
Every time you take him off the field, I'm exhaling because I'm saying, good. Now I know that whoever, if they want to run the ball, fine, let them run the ball. We got enough linebackers now, really good linebackers now, and we play a 3-4. We should be able to do a pretty good job stopping the run or keeping it under control. As long as nobody's trying to throw the ball down the field. When Wentz is in there, Wentz can throw the ball anywhere on the field without question. He's got a strong enough arm to make the pass to the sideline. He's agile enough to dodge the pass rush. Okay, I mean, I know he has his little fumbling things, but you know what? He doesn't always lose the ball all the time. So
that's probably the main thing I want Carson to clean up is his fumbling.
Right. He doesn't always lose.
We got a lot on the burners tonight. We got a lot cooking. I want to know, is Carson Wentz a franchise quarterback from the fan base? I want to know what the disconnect is between Carson Wentz and this fan base because the guy can't catch a break with these fans. He can't seem to resonate with this fan base and become a hometown hero. Like,
all he's got to do is win a playoff game.
I don't know if it's that simple for him.
I think it is that simple for him.
I want to know.
He wins a playoff game, okay, and the Eagles lose because of their defense. I don't think that anybody's going to complain about Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but why do I think that it'll somehow be Carson's fault if that happens?
It won't be Carson's fault. You know what?
So we want to know, is Carson a franchise quarterback? We want to know why he can't seem to resonate with this fan base and come a hometown hero. I want to talk to the people that like the Jalen Hurts pick because I know they're out there. Whether they'll show their faces in this chat on this broadcast and just get absolutely eviscerated by me, we'll see. But I know they're out there. I want to hear from them. I want to know why.
I saw them on Facebook and I saw them in the A to D chat room. Quite a few.
And I also want to know, do you think Howie is still committed to Carson Wentz? Or does Howie want a mulligan on the $127 million contract he gave Carson Wentz that doesn't even take it into effect this year?
I don't know what I did not understand that pick, so I have no idea. I really don't.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think Howie thinks he can put Jalen Hurts into the old quarterback factory Howie thinks he's got brewing down there in South Philly, and he can make Jalen Hurts into Russell Wilson.
The only thing I think he can
do, not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has a cannon.
The only thing I think he's going to do is I think he might put two running backs out there at the same time. Your franchise running back who you drafted last year.
Yeah, Miles Sanders.
And then you put Hurts out.
We got Boston.
And then if Carson wants to do an RPO, he can always pitch the ball out to Hurts, and Hurts obviously has the ability to either take it and continue to run with it or throw the ball down the field. Maybe he wants to try to do something like that. I mean, I don't know. I just think to use a second round pick like that is improper. It's improper.
It's illogical. It's nonsensical. It's asinine.
Yeah, no, it's improper use of your assets. You needed to double down and get another big time receiver in here. That was your big problem. You had that, and you needed linebackers. Okay, now you did eventually address your linebackers later in the draft, but I mean, you addressed it sort of at the bottom end of the draft, and
yeah, they didn't address jack shit when it comes to their linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, are they expecting to get somebody back, Bradham back to be
interesting? I want to get to the linebacker later. We got to get to these comments. They're coming in hot and fast. Russell Bradham Wheelchair Wentz is finally about to roll his sorry butt and out of Philly. So I would assume that Russell is not agreeing with the poll question. He doesn't think Wentz is a franchise quarterback. And something tells me that Russell thinks that Jalen Hurts is going to be the franchise quarterback of this team sooner rather than later. And I also have a sneaky suspicion that Mr. Russell Branham is part of the Folesian Society. You see, Brad, because all these Folesian Society people that realize now that Foles is never coming back to Philadelphia. He went to Jacksonville. Now he's in Chicago. All them, they're jumping on the Hurts wagon.
They just, well, it's because he's never won a playoff game. That's
so you think one playoff win and all these Carson doubters and haters are just going to jump ship and be all in on him?
Yes.
I want to believe you, but I don't think I see it that way. I don't know.
If Carson can stay healthy and and play a playoff game and win a playoff game, I think it all stops at that point. Okay, Carson's been able to prove that he can win big games during the regular season, but he's never there in the play. He's always hurt when they're in the playoffs.
I can't argue the fact that Carson Wentz hasn't had an injury-plagued NFL career, because he has.
He has, but if you remember, in his rookie year, let's forget his rookie year, because quarterback rookies are quarterback rookies, okay? But second year, when you won the Super Bowl, okay? He got hurt in what, game 13 or something like that?
Early December. Okay. I think it was week 13.
He played till late in the season. The following season, I mean, he had a broken back, but he wasn't there for the playoffs. Okay, last year he was there, but then he got hurt in the playoff game early, and they probably would have won that game at home if he played. Most likely,
they stone cold would have won. Seattle
would have scored more than
the whole game. The Eagles' defense was not the '85 Bears last year. Seattle made one freaking play in that game, the bomb to DK Metcalf, excuse me. And we're able to win that football game. There's no mind a healthy Carson Wentz leads the Eagles to.
They scored seven. Seattle only scored 17 points that game. I think the Eagles.
Yeah, it was 3 field goals. I think it was because they got to 9.
17-9.
Yeah, but I think they got to 17 weird. I think they kicked 3 field goals, a touchdown, and a 2-pointer. I don't think they got there in a traditional.
I think you're right. But nonetheless,
I could misremember that though.
Nonetheless, I mean, the point is they only scored 17 points.
Prism 280, 12 minutes until the tar and feathering of Howie. Thomas Arnone, I may need to stop in. Brad, Rob, Tommy, come on aboard. We'd love to have you. Open door policy for any of the A2D personalities to stop here on Monday nights. We've always had that rule. Very few have taken us up on it, so it'd be interesting if Tom jumps in. I know he hates the pick. Tom's the biggest Carson fan, I think, in the world.
Well,
Carson can do no wrong in Tommy's eyes.
I don't see how you guys can sit there and say he's not a franchise quarterback. He's gotten hurt. That's the only thing that's held him back is that he's been extremely unlucky with those injuries. I mean, look, the injury against the Rams was a non-contact injury. That's just unfortunate. The injury against Seattle was a cheap shot, and the year he went out, the year he came back, he wasn't fully healthy, and then he ended up getting hurt because he was playing when he was still hurt, and he broke his back. So I mean, last year you saw pretty much what he looks like as a healthy quarterback with no help from his receivers, and he looked pretty daggone good.
All right, Keneal Patel, Carson Wentz is a franchise quarterback, and it shouldn't even be a debate.
No, it shouldn't.
Mr. Patel, it is a debate, and I'm trying to find out why. I want to know why Carson Wentz, as talented as he is, doesn't resonate with this fan base. It seems like they look for reasons not to pull for this guy. He's 1,000% is. That's from Julio Vargas. Jake Friel, one of our A2D family members, weekly roundup every Saturday at 1. He agrees Carson Wentz is a franchise quarterback. See, now, all the guys who hate Carson, except for the guy who called him Wheelchair Wentz in the first comment, they're going to run and hide because they like to type with their fingers and talk their trash on the Facebook feeds. But then when it's Monday night, prime time, baby, when it's time to look Rob Brakeman in the face and get in a debate, they run scared. If I don't know what I'm talking about, which I get told 85 million times a day on social media, it shouldn't be that hard to hop on the computer at 7 o'clock on Monday night and talk about it. Where are these Carson haters? Where are the people that like this Jalen Hurts pick? I want to talk to them.
According to Bryce Blackwell, it's because Foles won, and that split up the fan base.
But Foles stinks. He's average at best.
I agree with you, but that's not something that they agree with. You're getting a lot of people who disagree with you on that.
Bryce Blackwell thinks 53 was a horrible pick, but he likes the other picks. They got a lot of speed. I agree that they got a lot of speed. And I think whoever made the picks on day 3, rounds 4 through 7, killed it. I don't think it was Howie because they actually did a good job.
They got an A on picks 4 through 7.
Maybe. I mean, they look good on paper.
According to Pro Football Focus, they got an A on.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus is a bunch of bullshit.
Right? Well, I'm just
worst.
So, but that's the reference got.
It's pretty universally regarded as a C plus draft by everyone other than Pro Football.
They're not talking about the whole draft. They're just talking about 4 through 7.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, then that I agree with.
One through 3, they gave it a B plus. So, they kind of liked it. They would have given it an A, I guess, if Howie didn't go Jalen Hurts number 2. But as soon as as I saw that, I was like, what? And I'm sure
every Dallas fan, every Washington fan, and every New York fan did a little happy dance when that 53rd pick got announced. It's a complete.
We're all like, huh? That was the basic. That was basically what we were all thinking. It was like, huh? What are you talking
Kettle
about?
Patel, for every game Wentz throws 250 yards, 2 passes, I'm going to repeat that. The Hurts should not have been drafted in the 2nd round because all these supporters of that decision need a reminder. Adam Rush could have had Fulton at 53. They could have had a lot of guy at 53. Ralphie Delavecchio, Carson Wentz is a franchise guy. Great video by Ralphie in reaction to the pick on our A2D social media accounts. Definitely go and check that out. Get those views up, bro. I think it's almost 4,000 views for Ralphie's video. He went off. So proud of him for that. Check out his video if you haven't already. So many great options at 53, not even mentioning he could have traded the 2nd round picks to move up and pick Lamb or Judy. That's I don't understand. And then biggest fake news from Keneal Patel, QB Factory. I need a T-shirt that says QB Factory. Maybe Philly drinkers can hook us up with an A2D radio Philly drinker T-shirt. So I'm buying 50 of them. It's all I'll wear for the rest of my life. QB Factory. That means we'll never be bad. Even though it's not a QB factory. Howie wants to take credit for the way Andy Reid developed Donovan McNabb, the way Andy Reid brought Michael Vick back from the dead when he came out of jail. He failed at developing Kevin Cobb. He never really turned into anything. And then, they get Carson, and you're a QB factory. What's the percentage of snaps will Hurts get? Like 2? I won't understand this draft pick. That's Ralphie. I mean, I think Taysom Hill, Brian Westbrook outlined on Fox Sports 1 today. I think it was Fox Sports 1. It could have been ESPN. Taysom Hill played on 23% of the snaps last year for the Saints. Now, that's a guy who's been around the Saints for a few years, getting 23% of the snaps.
He knows.
This is a rookie in Jalen Hurts.
And he knows the offense like the back of his hand.
And Taysom Hill throws a better ball than Jalen Hurts. Like
he's got a strong. I've
seen Taysom Hill absolutely rip it down the field.
I don't know how accurate
to do that at all. And if you did want a developmental quarterback in case Wentz gets hurt or in case Wentz isn't your guy or you're getting cold feet on that $127 million contract, there's two guys sitting there way late in the draft that I loved as developmental quarterbacks. And if you're a QB factory, you should have been able to get a Jake Fromm or a Jacob Eason and be able to develop them into Carson Wentz's.
You know what? Fromm I like.
Fromm was a severely underrated prospect. Everyone wants to say Jake Fromm has a noodle arm. I don't agree with that at all. I think he has underrated arm strength. He's an SEC. Won a lot of games in the SEC at Georgia.
He did. Yes, he did, and he was pretty darn good. I don't agree.
He ends up going to Buffalo in the 5th round. I think that's an absolute steal. I know Buffalo has Allen, but
they picked him in the 5th round.
They didn't take fucking Fromm in the 2nd round.
No, that's the whole
round. It's totally different.
That's the point. That's the problem with the Hurts thing. If you picked Hurts in the 5th round, this wouldn't even be an argument. Picking him in the 2nd round just is not smart. You have a lot of needs on your team. You have linebacker needs. You have receiver needs. It wouldn't have killed you to maybe get another offensive lineman because your offensive linemen are starting to get a little old. Okay?
How about
and maybe
something that made me madder than the Hurts pick at 53? You go to day 3. You're sitting there in the 4th round. You make a trade with the Dallas freaking Cowboys, a division rival, so they can get their replacement for their all-pro center that just retired. You just handed them a quality offensive lineman that should have never been there in the 4th round. He's going to start at center right away for a team you're going to play freaking 2 times a year. What sense does that make? That was someone in your division.
That was a little surprising. I couldn't believe when I saw that.
What are you doing?
Why would you be trading with the Cowboys under any circumstance?
Especially when I think now they ended up. Actually, I'd have to look up how the 4th round fell because I think they took Wallace, and then they had back-to-backers, and then they traded one of them to Dallas, which it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable.
That was strange. I mean, that'd be like the Yankees making a trade with the Red Sox.
It'll never happen.
Right. I mean, what the heck? What would possess you to do something like that? I mean, I don't know.
Evans. Wentz is a franchise quarterback. Jacob Berry. Wentz is our franchise quarterback. If he gets hurt again, I really think we move on. That'll be interesting.
Well, if that happens, then maybe they
Marty DiTomaso. I like Hurts, but I don't like the pick. That's
what he's saying, Rob, that he doesn't like it in the 2nd round.
And Marty also says Dallas schooled Howie. Howie got schooled by Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is in the middle of the ocean somewhere on his $750 million yacht, laughing his ass off about at Howie Roseman. You're gonna trade with me? Oh, okay. You're gonna let me get CeeDee Lamb at 17? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You're gonna trade me a 4th round pick so I can replace Travis Frederick, who unexpectedly retired just days before the draft, maybe weeks before the draft. Okay.
Well, now let's keep in mind
yacht party right now.
Let's keep in mind though that the center was picked in the 4th round. I mean, it's not like he was a 1st round pick though. It's
the principle of trading.
Well, I understand that
division rival, so they can. And look, we all did our mock drafts. I had the guy Taylor Beadays. His nickname's Tyler Badass. I had him mocked to the Eagles at pick 103. So
you were ready.
The guy I had on the Eagles' radar, a guy that could have helped the Eagles. Maybe not this year, but it's your center in waiting in the 3rd year. I mean, how many times have you outlined in the past few days Jason Kelsey's age? He's now 33 years old. He's no spring.
He's going to be 33. He's going to be in his 33-year-old season, and
right.
Dwayne Johnson is going to be in his 30-year-old season. So You don't want them to take every snap.
Lane Johnson's the best tackle in the league. And
no, I understand that.
We get to those mid-30s, and I start to worry. I don't worry at 30 like you do.
Well, offensive linemen take a hell of a beating. That's the only problem. I mean, they're not.
Ertz has a cannon. I mean, yeah, he might have a strong arm, but I mean, can he make all the throws that a franchise quarterback should be able to make? I don't know.
Accurate? Is he?
No, I didn't see that.
Is he accurate?
Let's not forget. I know Jalen
to throw the ball into a narrow window.
But let's not forget, Jalen Hurts got benched in the national championship game in favor of a true freshman. So let's not forget that. I know he's a nice guy and everybody likes his character, but in terms of X and O football, this is a guy that was benched in the biggest game of his career for poor performance for a true freshman and Tua Tagovailoa. So there's that too.
Yep.
Julio Vargas, if we're a QB factory, what about trusting Sudfeld as our insurance possibly? What happened to Thorson? No way we are a QB factory. Great points all around by Julio. If you're a QB factory, you should be just fine having Nate Sudfeld serve as your backup. You put a second-round tender on him so nobody in their right mind, no other team would match that tender on a guy who's never played in this league. Bob Brakeman, you can't compare the situation in New Orleans, Hill and Breeze. Breeze is at the end of 10 years, is 10 years older. So Breeze is 10 years older than Wentz. So you can't compare the situation. This is Bob's point. I can't disagree with that. Adam,
he's right about that.
At first, I thought it was stupid, honestly, but who on the offensive coaching staff was with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore? Marty M, give the dude a chance. I don't want to give Jalen Hurts a chance. I want to give Carson the chance. I want to give Carson the chances. Carson's my franchise quarterback. And I think
are you seriously going to compare an over-the-hill Joe Flacco to Carson Wentz? I mean, it was.
I don't know where Adam was going with that comment.
It was time.
I'm just reading him. I don't know where he was going with that comment.
Yeah, it was time for a quarterback change with the Ravens.
But
it was done.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. But But you were supposed to. I thought part of this offseason plan for Howie was to get all the noise out of the room, to make this Carson's team, to make him the leader of the team because he's the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, to get him some weapons.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't taking Jalen Hurts at 53, a kid who's a proven high character guy and a good leader, doesn't that diminish Carson Wentz's standing in the locker room? Doesn't that just create another shitstorm around your franchise quarterback? He's already got the injuries. He's already got the Nick Foles won the Super Bowl thing looming over his head. Now he's got Hurts at 53 lurking to maybe take his job. And everyone wants to poo-poo Jalen Hurts being a potential franchise quarterback, but I don't think they take him at 53 if they don't think they can mold him into a franchise quarterback. Hence why Howie Roseman all of a sudden thinks the Philadelphia Eagles are a quarterback factory. I just don't understand it.
So
I just don't understand it.
Do you think Howie's planning on trading Wentz?
I don't know what Howie's planning, Brad. Say I have no confidence in Howie Roseman right now is probably the understatement of the century. Howie Roseman needs to get locked back in the closet he got locked into when Chip Kelly was here. And how many times leading up to the draft, Howie does good things, I said a bunch. But if I were the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, he would be nowhere near my draft room, nowhere near my player evaluation department. How many times did I say that leading up to the draft, Brad?
Another thing, Rob, and again, I've been arguing it all week, or rather all weekend, is the Rager pick over Jefferson. I mean, I'm sorry. You're receiving.
Yeah, but I'm over that. That's small potatoes because compared to what we got at pick 50.
Okay, but we
picked a fucking quarterback, Brad.
I understand that.
Rager over Jefferson. That's at least a coherent.
But
logic. There's no logic in picking Jalen Hurts at 53. None.
No. But you passed on a really good receiver.
I agree. And if I were the GM,
I think Rager's going to be good, but I think the difference between Rager and Jefferson has a chance to be one of the top tippity top receivers in the NFL. I don't ever see that for Rager. I see Rager as a solid NFL.
Yeah, Rager's going to be a burner. Rager's going to stretch the field. Rager can play in the slot. Rager's going to return your punts.
He's solid, but he's not.
Rager's going to be okay.
He's solid, but he's not Jefferson. He has a chance to be one of the best in the league.
I mean, you know how much I love Justin Jefferson. I've talked to him for months leading up to the draft, so I was very disappointed that they went Rager over Jefferson. I'm fine with the first round pick.
Rager's a good player.
Problems.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying I think he could have done better. And when you see the Vikings taking literally no time to pick Jefferson right up when the
let me ask
that's gonna make you sit like the same way the Giants did as a Giant fan. We sat last year after we picked Jones that the Jacksonville Jaguars went right in and took the pass rusher Allen. I mean, and you're screaming, why didn't we pick Allen? And boom, Allen gets picked right away. I mean, 10 seconds into their selection process.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm an Eagle fan, that would stick in my craw a little bit that, oh my God, they didn't even waste 2 seconds to grab.
You're right about that.
Simultaneous.
But look, they didn't pick my guy. They didn't pick my guy Jefferson. I'm over that. I think we got a good first round pick. I like the pick. I don't love the pick at 21. I like the pick. I think he's going to be fine. And I love all these receivers that they got. I love their fit with Carson Wentz.
The question is, they're all fast, but can they catch? That's the question.
Well, I mean, Wentz does better with these speed guys that can separate than these big body receivers that.
Well, Ertz is a big body receiver, and he seems to do fine with
that.
But
he's a tight end, and that's his safety blanket, and they clearly have some type of special chemistry there between them. Like Montana and Rice, Young and Rice, all these great QB receiver combinations. That's the Eagles combination. They get along, they think the same way. I don't know what it is, but they're very comfortable with each other.
They got good chemistry, those two.
In terms of outside guys, Carson Wentz seems to struggle with these big-bodied receivers that he has to throw 50-50 balls to. He seems to flourish much better when he has speed guys who can separate and make a big play. Carson Wentz wants to make the 70-yard touchdown every play, for better or worse. He wants to make a touchdown on every play. But
that's what makes him so dangerous as a quarterback.
Yes, and I think that they have receivers now that match that. Because if you go back to 2017, when he almost won the MVP of the league, they had Nelson Aguilar. I know that sounds strange, but he was actually a good receiver.
A good year that year.
17. And Torrey Smith that served the purpose of taking the top off the defense. Now you have Deshaun, you have Rager, you have Quiz Watkins, you have John Hightower out of Boise State. You trade.
Also, Jeffrey had a great year that year too.
He did, and he hasn't been the same since he got paid.
No.
Victor Peak Hurts is like McNabb. I totally disagree with that. Donovan McNabb has more talent in his pinky. His mirror
McNabb is a borderline Hall of Fame
than Jalen Hurts has in his. That's a ridiculous statement. I can't believe someone just compared what's probably on paper the greatest quarterback in Eagles history to Jalen Hurts. That's insulting. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to turn in your fan card, Victor, but your fan card is definitely being suspended for at least a week after that comment.
Or,
McNabb had an absolute cannon. McNabb was a premium athlete. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that statement at all. I don't know what you're watching the McNabb era and what you've seen from Hurts that makes you think they're anything alike. The TCU quarterback wasn't great, but if you can touch it, you can catch it is what every coach said since Pee Wee. Yeah, I mean Jalen Reagor, like get back to your Joe Burrow point. We talked about Joe Burrow earlier in the show. Like, what if Joe Burrow was the quarterback at TCU with Jalen Reagor? Or what if you put Jalen Reagor on LSU? You know, what would his stats look like? Because TCU, they're not a very good program. They jump up and they have a good team here and there, but I mean, they're not a very good program. They also
don't play the same competition either.
Yeah, but they don't get the caliber of guy that an LSU would get.
No, I mean,
like Jalen Reagor, if he played with a 5-star quarterback, I mean, he's probably a steal at 21.
Perhaps, but then again, he's also not playing against other teams in the SEC either. So you don't have the top quality guys guarding him. Both ways.
You're right.
Listen,
it's the chicken or the egg.
He's going to be a good receiver. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, to me, the question
probably going to be a good receiver. I think Jefferson is a slam dunk good receiver. That's why I would have taken Jefferson.
The excuse that I got from most of the Eagle fans who are trying to make it was a better pick than Jefferson is that Jefferson likes the middle of the field. You're telling me Jefferson can't do outs? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, it's ridiculous to diminish.
Stop.
To diminish Judy and Jefferson because they're probably going to primarily run out of the slot in the NFL. It's just ridiculous to me. I mean, you see how we've seen for years and years how a slot receiver can change the dynamic.
The question is, Thalen is a slot receiver, is he not?
Who?
Thalen on the Vikings.
He plays outside, but he's more of he's not a burner. You know what I'm saying? He's
more of a slot receiver, isn't he? I think he plays the slot for the most.
I'd have to look it up. But no, he plays outside.
Does he? Okay, because I thought he was a slot receiver, and the Vikings had no problem bringing him in there. I mean, I don't know that. Well, again, that's good. They're going to be playing indoors too, which is really going to help Jefferson. Because you're not going to get the problem with the weather.
Estefan LeBron. Mark my words, Davion Taylor is going to be a problem, and Wentz don't have to show me nothing. He's a franchise quarterback who has been completely unlucky. You think Davion Taylor is going to be good? I can't share that opinion. I hated that pick at 103. I thought it was a total reach at linebacker. It's an undersized converted track star from the Big 12 that they picked in the third round at pick 103, Brad. I hated the selection. I would have tried to get an offensive lineman there or a different linebacker. I didn't like the Davion Taylor pick at all.
Well, you know what? The Eagles are trying to get faster and more athletic defensively. So I get it. I don't know if it's going to work. He is not that big. But if he's been known to be a good tackler. That was what they're saying about him in college. So we'll see what happens.
Drive by Teddy's back.
According to the scouts, he has a huge burst that makes him a good tackler. Because I was reading up on that guy, and they're saying he's very, very fast, and he's got the ability to play linebacker. So if you can get a guy like that who can play the linebacker position, the only thing I'd be worried about with
he's probably going to start.
Well, he's going to get pushed around. That would be my only concern because
this guy's going to start.
Yeah, I know. I mean, is he going to be? He's not going to be an every down player. I don't think. I think if they're expecting a run,
who's going to play linebacker? Who's playing linebacker for this team? You got the middle linebacker who played at Temple last year, and you got this Taylor guy. The only two you got. You got a guy, Jatavius Brown from the Chargers, who played one game last year. You have Jannard Avery. I believe he's still on the roster. He was deadline from Cleveland last year.
Well, maybe they bring Branham back.
Maybe they'll bring Bradham back.
I mean, he's still out there. Obviously,
drive by Teddy's back in the mix here. He was on the show yesterday. We call him Dry Black because he's busting all caps in our ass. He types all of his comments in all capital letters. So we call him Dry by Teddy.
Oh, okay.
Busting caps. Not being able to finish the last 3 years is a problem. Fly, Eagles, fly. I mean, so
I'm telling you, that's the problem.
You're going to develop a guy to take his spot who's not even that good of a quarterback, who's a gadget player. Howie thinks Hurts is going to be a franchise guy, a franchise caliber guy, or else he wouldn't have called us the QB factory after they picked them. So Howie
maybe he will be
Jalen Hurts, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Maybe he will be though.
Dominic Kasparaitis, only QB to have 4 straight seasons with at least 20 touchdowns and 7 or less INTs, and it's his first 4 years in the league.
Only problem with that is
Dominic, you don't got to sell me on Carson Wentz. I was as frustrated as anybody, and probably got carried away with how frustrated I was that he didn't finish that Seattle game, and the Eagles lost that football game to I don't think was in Seattle.
What quarterback wouldn't have gotten hurt when that late hit by Clowney? You told me one quarterback that wouldn't have been out.
I mean,
what quarterback wouldn't have gotten hurt?
A lot of them would have got hurt.
Huh? Not one quarterback could stand up to not one quarterback's head could stand up to a shot like that. That was a nasty hit. That was a Ronnie Lott type hit, and that's completely unacceptable.
It wasn't very nice of Mr. Clowney to do that to Carson. I will agree.
No, he reached into the Ronnie Lott bag of tricks to do that, and that was cheap. He should have gotten a personal foul penalty for that. That was ridiculous.
Kanel Patel, Eagles have no serious weaknesses this upcoming season. I can't wait. I strongly disagree with that because they have no linebackers on their team. I think they did a good job with the offensive line with the 2 guys from Auburn.
I think they patched up the safety position pretty well.
I think Kavion Wallace starts for this football team.
I think they did a nice job patching up the cornerback position. So
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about who starts opposite of Slay on the outside. I don't really trust Sidney Jones. I hate Sidney Jones. It was a terrible picking a cornerback who tore his.
Did play better later in the season though, so maybe he can carry.
Yeah, did he play good? It's like the Greg Ward syndrome.
I get it. He was so bad, anything would be an improvement. I get it.
Right. Is Greg Ward good? We're going to find out this year because he's going to have serious competition to make this roster. Is Greg Ward good, or was he just better than all the other bags they had out there? Like, is Sidney Jones good, or was he just a little bit better than Ronald Darby, who was terrible last year? I don't know.
The big question here is he a keeper?
To me, but he can prove me wrong. That's fine. The Eagles need him to prove me wrong. And then,
is he a keeper?
I don't understand how this fan base seems to have like Avonte Maddox crowned as this key contributor, potential starter in this secondary. Avonte Maddox didn't show me diddly poo last year.
He was okay.
He had a very promising rookie year. I didn't see him progress at all. Now, he had an injury earlier in the season to Green Bay, and maybe that stunted his development, but I'm not ready to commit to him as an every down outside corner. Not at all.
Well, he's still young.
The Eagles have no weaknesses. Patel is I don't agree with it. I still think the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. I will say that. I still think they're the favorite.
It's going to be a lot harder now, though, because the Cowboys had a very good draft.
They had a good draft on paper, but the game's not played on paper.
No, it's not.
We'll see.
The only thing I would say about the Cowboys is you guys are not are not thinking enough of the new coach that they have. And I think that's going to make a big difference.
Well, I get he's better than Garrett, but I wouldn't be.
You don't have the clapper over there anymore. You have a real coach.
No, but let's not make Mike McCarthy out to be Tom Landry.
No, he's not Tom. He's not Tom Landry, but he's not Jason Garrett.
But I think Dallas could make the playoffs as a wild card team now that they had a good draft, or appeared to have a good draft.
They certainly have an opportunity to. They should, but that doesn't mean they will.
Look, just get me head to head with them late season. Just get me head to head with them late season.
Just get head to head with them. Make sure you're healthy.
They're going to win the game in October, and then we're going to play in December, and the Eagles are going to kick that ass like they do every year and win the division. They might even win a playoff game. I don't know. The NFC is pretty tough. We'll have to see how that
depends who they have to play.
Yeah, depends. Carlos Lopez. My biggest concern is hopefully Jalen Hurts somehow works out and it doesn't cause locker room drama or a QB controversy in the future. Carlos, the second this fan base sees the littlest glimpse of future success from Jalen Hurts, it's going to be the Hurtsian society instead of the Folesian society. Everyone's going to be calling for the Eagles to kick Carson Wentz's ass out of town and for Jalen Hurts to be starting.
It's absolutely gonna see the difference with the Saints.
The second Hurts makes a play, Brad, there's gonna be people that are be calling him to play over Carson. I guarantee.
Breeze won a Super Bowl. That's the difference.
Yes,
I mean, and that's a huge difference. Now, if you want to go back a little bit, if you remember when the Giants won the Super Bowl, when Jeff Hostetler took over for Sims, and then the following season, you had a big controversy with Sims and Hostetler, and then they let Hostetler be the quarterback. And you know what? Hostetler was terrible. And the Giants ended up letting him go, and Sims became the quarterback again.
It's pretty scary how similar those two championships were for our respective teams.
Absolutely. They both had
a great franchise guy gets hurt, and the backup steps up, and they win anyway. Didn't Hostetler set records in that Super Bowl?
Yeah, because you know what? Nobody had prepared for nobody knew how to stop Hostetler because he had never played regularly. Nobody knew what a good runner he was. Nobody knew how good he was at throwing the short pass. But you know what? Once he got exposed and everybody knew that he didn't have a big arm and that he couldn't throw the ball way down the field, he was no good anymore. And then Sims came back. And basically, I think the same thing kind of happens with Foles because Foles doesn't have the arm strength to get the ball way down the field. So the defense was able to close in a little bit, and that's kind of what happened there. But Foles really had the magic going. Let's be honest. When the big spot came, when the light was brightest, he played his best. He raised his level of play. So I can understand people being in love with Nick Foles, but he is not half the quarterback Carson Wentz is. It's almost as dumb as when they compare Jeff Garcia and Donovan McNabb after McNabb got hurt. I mean, Jeff Garcia was not half the quarterback McNabb was, yet everybody was bitching about when Jeff Garcia came that he should be the quarterback. You remember that?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. You're smarter than that. You're better than that. You know better than that.
Oh, McNabb got unfairly hated in this city for years. And then he finally earned his hate because he threw up in the Super Bowl.
Right. But at least you got him there.
Yeah.
And Randall Cunningham, as great as he was beloved in the city, and he always choked in the playoffs. And nobody ever gave him a hard time. I don't know if you were old enough to remember Cunningham, Rob, but
yeah, I'm not. But
But Randall Cunningham, he's still beloved. Everybody still loves that guy.
No, my memories of Randall were him in a Minnesota Vikings uniform.
Yeah, he was terrific as an Eagle.
Season where that idiot missed the kick and ruined his Super Bowl.
Yes.
Here's Eagles hopping, and he's got an interesting comment here. I don't understand how Doug Peterson agreed with this pick, being a career backup and losing his starting job to a rookie 5. Not where I thought he was going to go with that comment, but where's the owner in all this? Where's the owner? Where's Jeffrey Lurie?
Well,
now, why can't Lurie just say, "Yo, Howie, you're not doing this. We're picking a real player that can help us right now because we have Carson."
Well, wait a minute.
Who's holding Howie Roseman accountable for these shitty picks?
Well, nope. You're right about that, but I would say this, okay? You don't want an owner to start telling guys who to pick in the draft.
Well, I mean, when it's
when it's that stupid, maybe. But but that's the thing. He has never been a guy who's gotten himself involved in the drafting, not outwardly. Maybe.
Yeah, and you're right, and that works to Jeffrey Lurie's advantage a lot because
he lets his football people make the decisions. I mean,
that's the problem. He's got an accountant making the draft picks.
I mean, the problem with the Dallas Cowboys is that the crazy owner doesn't let anybody make the decision. Doesn't let anybody make the decisions for him, and he's always got to be right in the middle of everything. That's part of the problem. If he just let his son handle, his son is pretty damn good at what he does. If he just let him keep drafting the players.
There was like a 3-year stretch where he let Steven do the draft, and they got Travis Frederick, they got Lyle Collins, they got Dak Prescott, they got Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, they got Dak in the fourth.
These guys, the Vander Esch or whatever his name is.
They got Dak in the fourth round.
Byron Jones, like.
Yeah, that's my point. That's why Lurie's smart to stay out of that stuff. But you don't want your owner being like that, because then you get a Daniel Snyder type of guy who just ruins the team every year because he can't stay out of it and let his football guys do their jobs.
And then just to round up the other draft picks, I do think K'Von Wallace starts for this football team. I don't know if Jalen Mills makes this 53-man roster. I know that might be a shock to hear, but the more I think about it, is K'Von Wallace is a safety out of Clemson that's just a perfect fit to fill the Malcolm Jenkins role for this defense. And I think that Rodney McLeod can be your cover guy deep. If Rodney McLeod doesn't work out, then you got Will Parks, who they signed from Denver. This is why I kind of like Jalen to go back to corner and start opposite of Slay. At least I know what I'm getting. I'm getting a gamer who's physical, who can tackle. I don't know if I want Sidney Jones or Avonte Maddox starting opposite of Darius Slay, because you know what's going to happen to that opposite corner? They're going to get peppered with targets because teams are going to be too afraid to throw at Slay because of how excellent he is.
Well, they're going to pick on him to no end.
Exactly.
You know, that can be a problem.
And then you get a couple of monster tackles out of Auburn, which me in the SEC. I love my SEC guys.
Well, and they're always good.
Overall, I give this is an average draft. I said the Eagles need to get 2 to 3 impact players to be Super Bowl contenders out of the draft. I think they got one in Jalen Reagor. I don't see this team as a Super Bowl contender. I really don't.
I mean, look, Rob, this is kind of like a rebuild year for them, isn't it not? Is it not? I mean,
like, aren't you telling your fan base if you take a quarterback at 53 that you don't think, like, Howie Roseman doesn't think this is a contending team? If you're taking a quarterback at 53, I don't want to say they're throwing in the white flag on the season, because I don't think that's quite fair, but isn't it getting to that territory? You don't think you can win this year, so you're going to get a gadget guy and try and develop them, and try and develop these younger guys that are projects as well. All these receivers, I like them because they can run fast, but they're total projects. I don't know if they're going to work out.
But you can't teach speed.
Good point. On that note, Brad, let's move on to your Giants. I thought the Giants got a lot better over the weekend. I know you're in your little man cave there with your Saquon Barkley. I thought they hit a home run, grand slams with their first 2 picks.
I agree with you.
You get Andrew Thomas.
Who may or may not be the best tackle in the draft, but I'll tell you.
I think he is the best tackle in the draft, and I love this fit. Well, I would have taken Simmons at 4.
The one thing, well, they wanted. Listen,
they wanted their tackle. That's fine.
I told you this last week. If they start doing offensive line, I'm okay with that because they need to open holes for Barkley. They need to keep Danny Dimes straight up and not getting killed. I really do think that the offensive line thing was more for Barkley though, because let's be honest, okay, if you're Saquon Barkley and you get beat up again next year, okay, and the Giants go 5-11, 4-12 again, okay, it's going to be very difficult to re-sign. He's not going to want to keep coming back to this. He's going to get tired of losing and he's going to want to leave. So you got to start opening up some holes so that he can start rushing for 1,500 yards a season.
And what is Georgia notorious
for running the ball? And they have a good offensive line. Listen, this guy was the safest guy to pick. Okay.
If I'm a GM in the top 5 and I already have my franchise quarterback, I'm just trying to put the ball in play, so to speak.
Well, I'll say this: they pick.
I can't strike out. I got to get me a guy who's going to start and be solid for many years to come. I think
that's exactly what he did. And you know what? I'm not complaining. I wanted a nice, porky offensive lineman, and then they went and picked basically the best guy on the board.
Well, I mean, I was baffled how the safeties fell in this draft.
Yeah, well, getting McKinney,
Pitt, McKinney.
I know McKinney
and Antoine Winfield Jr. None of them go in the first round. So the Giants are able. Did they move up in the second round a few spots?
No, with the Giants, no.
They just sat there.
They sat there and he fell to them. I mean,
they just sat there and they got maybe the best safety in the draft. So now you got a secondary of DeAndre Baker, James Bradbury, Jabril Peppers, Xavier McKinney, Julian Love.
Not bad.
What's that?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad at all. And you know what? They got a pretty
problem. The reason I can't give the Giants an A for their draft,
even they can get an edge rusher. I get it.
Well, I'm not so sure what's going on with the rest of these picks. I don't like that cornerback out of UCLA at all.
Well, that's going to be a key because they want him to start on the other side of Bradbury. So we'll see what happens with
him. They want him to start on the outside?
Yeah, they want him to be. No,
that's not going to work. He's a nickel guy. He's like 175 pounds, Brad.
No, he's the nickel guy, but he's supposed to be a very good nickel corner. I mean, look.
I looked at him because the Eagles actually had him in for a couple visits and talked to him at the combine and such. And I don't know. I wasn't impressed. I mean, an offensive tackle out of UConn, that doesn't really do anything for me. It's a position of need, yes. The one pick outside of the top 2 that really caught my eye was the guard from Oregon, Lemieux.
Yeah, he's good. He's a big
former All-American. You know, Oregon got a pretty good program up there, despite being in the Pac-12. So I thought that was a pretty good pick. I thought the Giants.
Look, the Giants went and they made no bones about the fact that they wanted to fix their offensive line and they wanted to fix their secondary. And that's exactly what they did. My only issue was that they didn't pick a defensive lineman and edge rusher. But I do understand as far as what's going on. If you're playing a 3-4, the linebackers really are kind of the edge. The outside linebackers are kind of the edge rushers. So I get that.
Well, that's why I thought Simmons was such a good fit for you guys there at number 4.
Oh, I get it, but they really wanted an offensive lineman. They really, really did. And you know what? Really, if you look at both sides of the ball, they really needed on both sides of the ball to pick a top-notch lineman. So they went and got offensive. I'm okay with that. We have not been able to build an offensive line for whatever reason. They've tried trades, they've tried free agents, they've tried drafting, and it never seems to work out. I think this time they finally decided they're going to not just pick one guy, but they're going to pick multiple guys, and hopefully one of them are going to end up being, top notch. I like Will Hernandez on their offensive line. I think now with him and Thomas, You got a nice base there, and they should be able to build around those two guys. And I think their offensive line is going to be a lot better now.
Now, how much cap space do the Giants have?
$16 million.
So they can go give Clowney a bunch of money for 1 year to come in and rush the passer, as can the Eagles, as can a lot of teams. That's the one. That's the one chip that still has to fall, because it looks like Jacksonville, for better or worse, is holding on to Yannick, even though he said he's not playing there.
Well, I think he is going to play. I think that he's going to be traded in October. Quite honestly, I think that's what ends up happening with him.
Doesn't he lose his leverage if he plays, or?
Why would he lose his leverage? He'll be an unrestricted free agent after this season.
I understand, but the whole point is he doesn't want to risk injury on the 1 year franchise tag. He's not playing for Jacksonville.
But if he doesn't play, then he's going to
cost himself money like Melvin Gordon did.
And like what's his name? Bell.
Bell didn't really cost himself money. He still got monster money.
He only got $13 million a year. He thought he was going to get
a lot for a running back, Brad. In today's world, that's a lot for a running back.
But he could have got. I think he would have gotten more if he stayed.
I think you're right about that. I think he still got himself paid, but he definitely cost himself money.
Yeah, and he also was awful for the Jets last year.
But you got to look at it from the player's perspective. If they get hurt on that 1 year deal, then they have no income for the rest of their career.
But he's also given up $16-17 million this year. A prime season.
I get it.
That's a lot of money to give up. I mean
it's interesting. It's interesting how these guys are playing it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I think at some point, if they trade him, they may wait till the trade deadline. Because if they wait till the trade deadline, some desperate team is going to who thinks that they have a chance to win the Super Bowl is going to come out and they're going to give them half their draft to get the guy. I mean, that could end up happening. Plus, because they played a few games have been played, he'd be a smaller cap hit.
It's true.
You're going to get an adjusted cap hit. I mean, what is it, like the 6th week of the season?
That's a question I would ask you.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like if it's the middle of October, right? The trade deadline usually. So that's usually weeks.
It's like week 6, I think.
Week 6 or week 7. Let's say it's week 6. So then if he's making $16 million, okay, then he's making $1 million a game. So that means your cap hit would only be $10 million because he's only going to play 10 games. And that would open it up for a lot more teams to get involved. So
look, you're more into the cap and the business side of sports than I am.
Well, no, I'm just telling you that.
I know, I get it.
If he does that, okay, then he opens the door to get to play anywhere he wants. Because most teams can find a way to sneak $10 million into the cap, whether it's putting somebody on injured reserve, or whatever, cutting somebody, doing something along those lines. They can always find $10 million. Especially a team like the Giants or the Eagles, who right now have a lot of money in cap space.
Right, Frank, keep that comment out. We're going to talk about the Cowboys next. But Brad, is your outlook changed as a Giants fan after what I would consider a successful draft?
Yeah, I think they should be 8-8 this year. I think that they're going to have a pretty good year, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to be good enough.
8-8 might be right there. That might be right there for the 7 seed.
Nah, I don't think so. Not at this point. I think this year. I think
you're probably right. 8-8 might get you in the AFC, but I think
the NFC.
I think I agree with you. The NFC is far superior conference.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in our division, we're going to be competitive in our division. I think that they might be able to steal a game against the Eagles and the Cowboys. Maybe go if they can go 3-3 in the division this year instead of going 2-4 or 1-5 all the time. It's the only team they always seem to manage, no matter how bad they are. Seems like they always beat the Redskins, but they're going to have
the Giants. The Giants have elevated themselves to they're not a doormat anymore. You're not looking at the Giants on your schedule and say, okay, we're playing the Giants this week. Bye week. We got this one.
If teams look at them like that, then the Giants
they're going to lose.
Yeah, they're going to lose. because the Giants have some offensive linemen now. Saquon Barkley is going to get a lot of yardage running the ball. If they can control the ball, not let that defense get exposed too much by keeping them off the field, they're going to have a shot to win most games. I mean, I told you that last week why it would be so important for them to be able to get some offensive linemen, because if Saquon Barkley is running the ball, that means that they can control the clock. And, the old saying, the fewer the possessions, the fewer points the other team can score.
Well, and a healthy Saquon just takes so much pressure off a young Danny Dimes.
Yeah, well, also a decent offensive line that can open holes for him and not having him get
even
hit.
Better.
I mean, he was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage last year before he even got to the line of scrimmage. He had to break a couple of tackles, and he still got 1,000 yards in 12 games.
Saquon Barkley, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he's one of the top backs in the league.
So, Brad, your defense let up 28 points a game last year.
Actually, more than that. I think it was 32, but
32. I mean,
was really bad. It was really bad last year.
Can you trim that number to 21?
I think that's asking a lot, but I think they could trim it down to about 24, 25. And I think if you do that, they've got a chance. They've got a chance almost every week to win. That doesn't mean that they will, but I mean they'll be in every game, because if you can keep a team, to 24 points or less, you should be able to stay in the game somehow and score some points, because they do have enough weapons offensively to put some points on the board.
All right. So
what I want to see out of the Giants this year is I don't want to see them getting smoked by bad teams.
Right.
And that was not last year. Them getting beat up by teams like the Jets. The Jets and the Cardinals coming in and losing to the Bears and losing to the Lions. That was inexcusable. I mean, I get it when they played the Lions still had Stafford. I get that. And at the beginning of the season, when Stafford was still playing, the Lions were playing pretty well. But still, they should have won that game. They found every reason to lose. To get your asses kicked to give up 28 points to the Buffalo Bills, who last year were not the greatest offensive team in the NFL. That was ridiculous. To give up 30 points to the Jets, are you kidding me? They gave up 35 points the last week of the season to the Redskins, for crying out loud. That's got to change.
So we got a solid B for the Giants. We got a C. We got a C for the Eagles. Move on to Dallas.
I thought they got an A, Rob. I hate to say it.
I hate to say it as well, but I think you're right. The Cowboys lost a lot on defense this year. McCarthy doesn't coach defense either, while Lamb is going to be a killer player. Did they fill all their needs on defense?
They're going to have problems defensively, but they'll still get some stops. They'll get enough stops they'll have a good enough op. And with a guy like CeeDee Lamb, he should really I mean, they're going to be very difficult to stop now. I mean, you have three receivers who are with blinding speed, and when Cooper disappears, then you still got to worry about this guy Lamb, and they still have Gallup. I mean, they're going to be tough. They're going to be really tough to stop.
How much do you think they wish they paid Jones and let Cooper walk, now that they see that they had a crystal ball to look into the future, to see that they were going to get CeeDee Lamb? You pay Byron Jones the big money and you let Cooper go elsewhere.
Yeah, but how were they supposed to know that CeeDee Lamb was going to be available at 8?
You don't. It's just a it's just a fake scenario. You don't.
Yeah, it's easy. Well, I'm sure if they knew that was going to happen, I mean, I didn't think that guy was going to be.
I mean, I'll take CeeDee Lamb in my foxhole over Amari Cooper any day of the week. Amari Cooper stinks.
You put him but he could be the second receiver on that team now, or the third receiver on that team.
Well, you got Gallup in the slot.
It's really good, and
and then you got the two guys on the outside.
Yeah, so they're going to offensively, they're going to be very hard to stop.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad that the Eagles, they boned up that secondary.
Well, they needed to
this offseason.
They needed to.
They're going to need it against Danny Dimes, and they're going to need it against Dak Prescott and the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
I don't know who's going to be tackling Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley at the middle linebacker position. I think their lack of linebacker is.
Sean Lee going to play this year, or is he going to be hurt the whole season again?
Who?
Sean Lee.
Oh, I don't know. I'm talking about the Eagles linebacker.
The Eagles. Oh, okay.
The two running backs in the NFC East that are probably, along with McCaffrey, the 3 best backs in the whole league. But, the Cowboys, they get Lamb at 17. They just sit there. They're not cute about it. They don't reach. They just take Lamb. They get a corner out of Alabama, Trevon Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, these guys just fell right into their hands. It's unbelievable.
I'm not as big on Diggs as some people are. But then they go in the 3rd round, they get a guy out of Oklahoma named Neville Gallimore to put next to Gerald McCoy in the middle of their defensive line. I mean, Neville Gallimore, on my first round, I had him mocked in the 1st round to pick 30 of the Green Bay Packers, and the Cowboys get him in the 3rd round. So
yeah, I mean that they from all accounts they had a great draft. Another team that had a real big time draft was the Arizona Cardinals.
I think the Cardinals might win the West.
They had a really good draft, and I'll tell you who had a very bad draft was the Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers, Howie Roseman should be rejoicing that the Green Bay Packers absolutely exist, because I don't know what they were doing over the weekend. They trade up. It seemed like they went out of their way to piss off Aaron Rodgers. They trade up.
First, they draft a quarterback, which I don't understand.
They trade up to draft a quarterback, who I don't even think is good. That wouldn't be my guy at all if I were to pick a developmental quarterback. Jordan Love, 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions at Utah State. Hard pass for me. So you pissed off Aaron Rodgers by taking his replacement and trading up to do so. And you have one of the deepest, best wide receiver draft classes maybe ever. And the Packers go the whole draft without
pick a receiver.
Not one.
No, I know. That was surprising.
And they sit there at 64. They take a running back out of Boston College, A.J. Dillon.
They didn't need to do that. That was the whole thing.
You have Aaron Jones, and why are you taking a 4th-round prospect, 5th-round prospect in the 2nd round? Don't understand that.
So no, that was bizarre. That was bizarre.
They did take John Runyon Jr., who's the son of notorious Eagles tackle John Runyon out of Michigan in the 4th round.
Oh, you mean Strahan's bitch? Yes, I remember him.
Yeah, I mean, not many people could handle Strahan like Runyon could.
Well, he couldn't really handle
it. No, he couldn't. Michael Strahan's one of the best pass rushers of all time. But Strahan will tell you that he had the toughest time with Runyon. Runyon was such a good player.
I'll tell you what, when they signed him, I thought that was the dumbest thing to spend all that money on an offensive lineman. But you know what? He anchored that offensive line for a long time.
Him and Trey Thomas.
Yep.
Probably the 2 biggest. You have McNabb, who's the quarterback, obviously, but the 2 biggest keys to the Andy Reid era were having Runyon and Trey Thomas at tackles.
Listen,
they were never really hurt. They stayed relatively healthy for offensive linemen.
Yeah, as long as Andy was there, they always had a good offensive line. Chip Kelly screwed up that team pretty bad. But then, came back, they kind of fixed their offensive line, and, the rest is history. The only thing I would worry about, getting back to the Eagles' offensive line, Johnson had a concussion last year. I'd be a little worried about that because once guys get concussions, sometimes they start to multiply.
In terms of what player?
Lane Johnson with the concussion last year.
I mean, he's the best tackle in the league.
Agreed. I worry about guys who get concussions. Sometimes it starts happening more than once. That I would be a little. I wouldn't want Kelsey.
That's a huge concern with Carson too.
Yeah, but quarterback. quarterback doesn't get hit on every play. Offensive linemen get hit on every play.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the only thing I would worry about. Kelsey also, he's going to be in his age 33 season. I would just think that if they're able to at least not make him play every play, maybe play 2 out of 3 downs, and keep him fresh for the season, I think you'd see a much stronger team towards the end of the season with him.
All right, here's a Giants comment, Brett. House Music Mike checks in. I love the Austin Mack signing for the Giants. He's big and quick and could be their diamond in the rough on offense.
I agree.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the receiver out of Ohio State.
Yes, he is. He was an undrafted. They did not draft any receivers, but then they went with the guys that they always sign off the street right after the draft. They went and grabbed 4 receivers off the street, and he's one of them. But again, when you have these undrafted guys, Victor Cruz was undrafted, so you got to go back to that, and I'm sure they're looking at that and they're saying, okay, these guys could be developmental. I wouldn't count on these guys making the team.
No, hopefully you can
keep them on your practice squad
and develop them, and in case something happens, like a dude.
Listen, Victor Cruz, his rookie season, Victor Cruz was on the practice squad, and he played great in the preseason, and they stuck him on the practice squad for his first season, but then they couldn't hide him anymore. These guys, if they play well, they'll get their chance. But they're prospects. I think they'll. He might stick. I don't think you're gonna see the guy playing this year though, unless they get a lot of injuries.
Which that wouldn't be good at all. All right, yeah. Eagles hopping. Losing Jenkins and adding Slay is a wash. Only improvement was Roby Coleman. See more secondary issues for the Eagles this year.
I think it's more than a wash. I think that they're improved because Jenkins was not really good last year.
No, he wasn't. Don't tell that to an Eagles fan, though, because he was on the 2017 Super Bowl team. You can't say anything bad about Malcolm.
He was great in 2017, but
Malcolm Jenkins stunk last year.
He didn't have a great year.
He stunk. He led the defense to 4 straight wins down the stretch, and he played well. Outside of that, Malcolm Jenkins was trash last year.
So that's why I'm saying.
I'm so sure it wasn't him talking that talk to Josina Anderson about our franchise quarterback, Carson Wentz. So good riddance on Malcolm Jenkins not being here. Time to turn the page. Time to get younger. Time to get better.
Slay is 29.
Time to get stronger.
Jenkins is 33. Slay is 29.
And Darius Slay is just a perfect scheme fit in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he should. As far as
Eagles are ahead on that one, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would agree. And at 29, he shouldn't be. He should still be pretty much near the top of his game.
I mean, and how much rejuvenation is Slay going to have being out of Detroit? I mean, I'm not trying.
He also doesn't have to carry the team either.
Right. I mean, I'm not trying to say the Eagles are the New England Patriots and winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, but they certainly have more of a winning culture than the freaking Detroit Lions.
Well, you went from a 3-win team to a 9-win team, so I mean, there's, that's obviously that's a huge difference.
And then Eagles hopping. Will Parks is going to be a solid contributor, a kind of jack of all trades, backup type player who can do a lot of different things for you. Have an open mind about the secondary. I think it's going to be a good one. Just got to figure out that other corner. Because you got Roby Coleman in the slot that I'm excited about. You got Slay on the outside going man up with the other team's best corner. You got to figure out what you're doing on the other side. Maybe you sign a guy like Logan Ryan, who's still a free agent.
He's still out there. Yeah, there's a few of them that are still out there.
$27 million in cap space. I can still make some moves, Brad?
You absolutely can. I mean,
we got some other comments filtering in here. About 15 minutes left on the show tonight. We talked about some winners and losers before, but Brad, doesn't every team want their favorite NFL team to handle their business like the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh, the Ravens again had a strong draft.
Just smart, solid picks. None of
quiet.
reaches.
Smart, quiet picks, and they just always seem to do the right thing. As far as the Ravens are concerned, the only thing they have to do is Lamar has to play a little bit better in the playoff games. That's all.
If you're gonna make me pick who's gonna win the Super Bowl right now, I would pick the Ravens.
Well, I mean, you still have to go with Kansas City, but they're not automatic.
Well, I think I'm going with the Ravens.
I would like to.
Obviously, we have a lot of time to figure all that stuff out.
I would like to see the Ravens get a shot at Kansas City, most definitely, because I do think that the Ravens are physical enough to.
Here, I just pulled up
trouble.
Yeah, I just pulled up their draft. So round 1, they go Patrick Queen,
which was a real good selection, by the way.
Real good selection. Going to start day 1, SEC guy. Then you go J.K. Dobbins, running back. Do they really need a running back? Probably not at the top of their needs list. I know they had a pretty good guard retire, but J.K. Dobbins is a first-round talent. You're getting him at pick 55. No brainer. You just sit there. You take the best guy. You don't get cute.
Oh, and then they got Matabuki from the interior defensive lineman from Texas A&M. And that was that was the Patriot pick. So they did okay with that one.
Devin Delvaney,
receiver from Texas.
Duvernay, the dude from Texas, regarded as somebody the best slot receiver in the draft. They got burners on the outside with Marquise Brown and Willie Snead. You get a guy to run your slot for you. Plus, they got all those tight ends. Just add to. Now, round 3 at pick 98, that's my boy Malik Harrison. If you listen to any of our shows, any of our mock draft shows, any of our draft broadcasts.
Well, you mentioned him a lot. He was the one from Ohio State, right?
Yeah, the middle linebacker from Ohio State, but instead he picked freaking gadget Jalen Hurts to potentially be the franchise quarterback over Carson Wentz. I don't understand it. If you put Malik Harrison in the Eagles draft class instead of Jalen Hurts, it's a borderline A draft. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Chances to be in the Super Bowl. Now I don't think you got a chance to be in the Super Bowl.
And Tyree Phillips was a good player.
Tyree Phillips, Ben Bredesen, another guy I had mocked to the Eagles pretty consistently out of Michigan, a guard. James Prochet, a guy I had mocked to the Eagles in the 5th round, a wide receiver out of SMU. And you get Geno Stone.
A safety from Iowa.
I know who he is. He's pretty good. Look, Iowa produces football players.
Oh, they do.
If they could ever recruit a freaking quarterback there, they would be right there with Ohio State.
If they could actually recruit guys who are good skill position players, real top-notch skill position players.
Even like a
it always seems like they have good linemen and a good defense, but it just seems like for whatever reason they never have that superstar running back or quarterback, and they never have the superstar receivers either.
I just read you the Ravens draft, who we both agree got an A++. They won the draft. They had the best draft of anyone. I liked what a lot of teams did in this draft, but the Ravens reigned supreme. They won the draft. They're well coached. They have a franchise quarterback. They're always in the mix. I wish every NFL fan wishes their team conducted their business like the Baltimore Ravens.
I'll tell you who had one hell of a draft was the Cincinnati Bengals.
You do? A lot of people are saying that, and I don't really. I get it.
It doesn't got a bunch of get the first pick of the litter every time, but they did really well. I mean, between
they drafted a bunch of linebackers.
Yeah, and they also got Burrow and Higgins, which that's good. And then they got the edge rusher from Notre Dame. I mean, they picked up some
Owakara or whatever, however you say it.
Oh God,
Owakara, Owkara.
Yeah, Okara, I think.
That was their pick, right?
The Notre Dame Khalid. You mean? No, that was Khalid Kareem, and the guy from Kansas was Hakeem Adunje or something like that.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, but
Um,
they had a strong draft though.
I thought the Minnesota Vikings had a
Yes,
strong draft. I think they're positioned very well to win a lot of games this year because the NFC North stinks.
yeah.
I don't see much coming from the Bears. The Packers had a horrible draft.
Lions had a very good draft.
Yeah, but see the Lions killed it because they got
Really had
Andre Swift.
Yeah. I mean, the first two guys, and
But then I don't know about any of the other guys.
well, the edge rusher Okwara from
That's who got him.
yeah, he's from Notre Dame. They got him. He's supposed to be pretty good.
But I'm looking at the Vikings draft, Brad. I think they're right up there with the Ravens. I guess teams with purple uniforms can draft well in 2020. You get Justin Jefferson, who I think's a beast. Jeff Gladney's a quarterback out of TCU, who I liked. Urge at Cleveland is a tackle that they desperately needed. Not sure how good he is. Cameron Dantzler is a SEC cornerback. Round 4, pick 130, defensive tackle James Lynch. That just feels like a Viking pick. A monster in the trench. Maybe
the guy they got from the Saints, right?
Who?
The fourth pick that was the Saints pick, right? Lynch.
Yeah. Is that how they got that from the Saints?
Yeah, they got him from the Saints.
What did they trade in the draft? And
yes, they got the Saints 4th round pick. He's supposed to be pretty good. The linebacker Troy Dye from Oregon was the 5th pick.
Tremendous pick. Should have been gone round 2, round 3 at latest.
Yeah, no, they definitely
they drafted an edge rusher out of Michigan State named Kenny Willekes, who I think's a player. Way too late to be going in the 2nd round.
They picked a quarterback too in the 7th round.
Yeah, they picked Nate Stanley out of Iowa. He stinks.
Yeah, no, he's not. I mean,
but I think the Vikings have a chance to win a lot of football games next season.
Yeah, they look to me like a 12.
I think they're heavy favorites to win their division.
Yeah, I would agree. A team that had a horrible draft, in my opinion, was the Patriots.
I didn't like one. I liked a few of their picks, but not many. Well, first off, they don't draft a quarterback, but they draft a kicker. What do we do?
That whole thing was bizarre.
You draft a kicker before you're drafting a quarterback? You know that I think they're like in denial that they lost Tom Brady. They're not really getting it. But I'm
not understanding that either. But
I don't understand how you can be staring Jake Fromm in the face in the 5th round and not pull the trigger on that if you're New England. So Brian Hoyer and Jared Syntham are the only quarterbacks they have on their roster.
Yeah, as of right now, that's.
I mean, they signed 2 guys. They signed 2 undrafted guys, but I mean, come on, get real. I mean,
but undrafted guys generally are,
especially a quarterback.
Yeah, they're developmental players. I mean,
they trade out of the 1st round. I mean, at least they traded out of the 1st round to get that safety Duger, the D3 safety. Because I mean, if you're picking him at 23 or wherever they were picking, that's just asking for trouble. They didn't draft any receivers, but they drafted 2 tight ends in what wasn't regarded as a good tight end draft. I totally agree with you. I don't think the Patriots. I think
the Jets had a very good draft. Really good. Joe Douglas did a hell of a job.
See, we disagree there. I don't think the Jets had a very good draft at all.
Oh, they got Becton.
I don't like Becton at all.
Mims, who's very good.
I don't like Mims at all either.
Well, according to
I mean, these are my personal opinions. Obviously, I could be wrong. Joe Douglas obviously knows a lot more about football than me, but look, Mekhi Becton, He went to Louisville. He goes to the combine and looks really cute and sexy in spandex and works out really well. And then all of a sudden he's a top 10 pick. I don't know. The guys like that just don't sit well with me.
Well, from what I heard, the only reason he wasn't picked higher is because he failed a drug test. So I take that for what it's worth. That was the only thing I heard.
Yeah, and failing a drug test this year, that really makes you raise your eyebrows because you're allowed to smoke weed now.
Yeah, I don't.
So a failed drug test, you usually just went, oh, he probably just smoked some weed. That's not the case anymore. You're doing some
You don't know what the hell he's doing.
heavy PED enhancing shit if you're failing a drug test this year.
Yeah, he could be doing PEDs.
So
Could be doing
I don't
work.
know. And then I'm just not a Mims guy. I don't know. There's something about Mims I just don't trust.
They also picked Jabari Zuniga.
That guy I like. That was their best pick.
Ashlyn Davis, the safety from Cal.
I didn't understand the hype around him at all.
And let's see who else they got. They got Perrine from the running back from Florida, and James Morgan, who's
average pick. That was a terrible pick.
Don't know why they did that.
Because James Morgan was picked ahead of both Eason and Fromm. The only thing James Morgan has going for him is he's got a strong arm.
Yeah, but he played at Florida International. I mean, who are they playing against? He's not going to play.
You don't have to speak to me about level of competition.
He's going to be on the practice squad. Darnold is going to be your quarterback. Colt McCoy is going to be the backup, and as I said, he'll be on the practice squad for.
Is that who they have? They have Colt McCoy.
Yes. Oh no! Wait a minute. Colt McCoy is the Giants' backup. I don't even know who the Jets' backup is right now.
That doesn't matter. They have Darnold.
Yeah.
Got a few minutes left here. I thought Matt Rule had an excellent draft with Carolina. Used all of his 7 picks on defense. So he's got Bridgewater, he's got McCaffrey, he's got a couple receivers down there. He's going to battle with that, and he's going to try and stop you. So he gets Derek Brown, he gets Grados Moss, he gets Troy Pride out of Notre Dame, who I like. He gets Jeremy Chin, the favorite of Chuck's Mataran from Southern Illinois, the kind of hybrid guy there. I really like what they did. I like what the Browns did. We don't usually talk about the Browns as winning anything, but I think they did a really good job drafting.
I'll tell you a team that I don't think did a good job drafting this year was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I didn't like their draft either.
That was
I'm not a Claypool guy at all. I thought
Claypool and McFarland. You
McFarland I like a little bit, but
you pick a wide receiver and a running back. I mean, they really needed to fix their defense, and they waited.
Their defense. Look, I think the only reason they didn't make the playoffs last year is because Big Ben was hurt.
Yeah.
Once they traded for Fitzpatrick scored a touchdown every week for him after they traded him from the Dolphins.
Yeah. Oh, Mia Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
Yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. That's the guy from the Dolphins. They didn't have a first-round pick. Claypool.
Because of that.
I mean, but
Claypool doesn't do nothing for me. I agree with you there.
They used their first pick in the draft, which was the second-round pick, on Claypool, which I thought that was kind of a wasted pick. I mean, I think their receivers are pretty good. I don't know why they would be going receiver in the second round. I mean, if you're the Steelers with all the good receivers that were out there, I would have waited a little bit.
You're not wrong. I don't think the Houston Texans had a very good draft. Surprise, surprise.
They're just going the wrong way right now, and they've been going the wrong way.
The Patriots, the Jets. The
Patriots were terrible. The Seahawks didn't have a good draft either.
I never even heard of the guy. Look, I really hunkered down and studied my prospects here during this quarantine, and I never heard of the guy that they picked in the first round.
Jordan Brooks?
Yeah. Couldn't tell you one thing about him. Don't know where he played.
Texas Tech.
Anything about his Texas Tech?
Texas Tech.
Linebacker from Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Pass.
And their second pick was from a few years ago when the Jets got the receiver. Can't remember his name now. He's gone now. He wants to make a comeback. I just can't remember his name.
Oh, Percy Harvin?
Yeah. So they ended up taking Darrell Taylor, an edge rusher from Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee was not very good. I don't know. And then they went and they picked Damian Lewis, who's an which is an interior outside linebacker from.
No, he's an offensive lineman.
I'm sorry, he's an offensive lineman from LSU, which is that was not a bad pick. They took Parkinson from Stanford and DJ Dallas, the running back from Miami, and then they picked Alton Robinson from Syracuse. I mean, these guys, I haven't even heard of most of these guys.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm getting ripped because I never heard of Jordan Brooks.
Oh,
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Seahawks can have him. I mean, the Seahawks never really seem to pick anybody anyone's heard of in the first round, and they're in the playoffs every year. So, whatever. Last winner I want to talk about before I wrap up, I thought the Denver Broncos had a very good draft. You double dip at receiver for your young quarterback and Drew Lock. You get Jerry Jeudy at 15, falls in your lap. You get the speedster out of Penn State, KJ Hamler.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that was pretty smart to go out and get a couple of good receivers for their young quarterback. I mean, that's kind of how you build a team. Their offensive line could use a little help, but you know what? They definitely needed to improve their skill positions. That was a big problem for them last year.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. Thanks for everyone for commenting. Thanks to everyone for listening. And we will see what the quarterback factory can churn out for the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of Jalen Hurts. Have a good night, everybody.